Peace and blessings. Welcome back. Welcome back. Today we have a retwist. This is my client Melissa. She's been coming to Iat's Natural Hair Salon for the last 4 years, let's say 3 to 4 years. We started off her lock journey at this salon, and she usually gets palm rolled. However, on this occasion, we're gonna be doing a combination of both palm rolling and interlocking. She has some problem areas along the hairline, and I'm gonna be interlocking just her hairline and doing a bit of repair up front as well. So stay tuned for that. I will also be demonstrating how we do our repairs using 100% human hair. I try to not rip through those thick roots in order to get straight parts. What we usually do is apply our flaxseed gel first, and the flaxseed gel is quite viscous, and that allows for easy parting, and it's less stress and less breakage when we do it this way. I do not think that your parts have to be extremely straight. They need to be clean. And like I always tell my stylist, the goal for the retwist is tight roots and frizz control. So we don't want to see any frizz along the length of the lock. It should be completely wrapped around the lock and then pinned. So I'm gonna be showing you pin placement and how to smooth out your roots. I'm applying our gel to the roots. You want to make sure that your roots are as saturated as possible. It helps for the comb to slide through those roots pretty easy, and for your parts to be as clean as they can possibly get without ripping at the roots. Now you want to comb through your root a couple of times and then twist with the comb. Wrap all of that fuzz and frizz around the lock and then pin at the base where the new growth, all of the frizz that you've just wrapped has stopped. So here I am twisting again. She does not have that much frizz, so there's not much to wrap around the lock. You just want to make sure that you're wrapping the root and as far down the lock past that budding point so that you can pin in place. You also want to put multiple pins so that the lock doesn't recoil on itself. You want to make sure that your retwists stay flat and in a downward motion. You don't want them to be retwisted to the side. You want to have them retwisted going downward and placing your clips on multiple areas along the lock so that it does not move. You want to do that to make sure that when it dries in place and it dries straight. You don't really want any bumps or curves along the length of the lock whilst it's drying. A smooth and clean finish is always the best. I usually start my retwist in the middle of the back so that I can pin all of her locks going backward. I try to not pin any locks over the ear of our clients because once you've been put under the dryer, those clips along the length of the locks, if they're touching the skin, that heat is going to transfer to the skin and make the drying process unbearable, very uncomfortable. So I usually pin going backward and I try to stay away from the ear. I'm also gonna leave one row along her hairline undone and retwist the entire back, the rest of her head with the comb. And I'm gonna show you how I do the interlocking using an interlocking tool for the very front. By the way, the applicator brush and color bowl are must-haves for this gel that we use. It can be used straight out of the bottle, but we prefer to use these tools as it really helps us get through our lock clients a lot easier than having to squeeze and squeeze and squeeze every time we need to make a part. The brush and the bowl allows for easy application for each row. It usually takes about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, to complete a retwist. If you're coming in for a shampoo and retwist along with a style, then your total time spent should be about 3 to 3.5 hours. At this point, I would usually find out if the client wants her hair parted over on the right side or the left side. But for this particular client, we're not going to be doing any parts on any particular side because of those repairs that have to be done up front. Let me also add that we do not recommend that you do your retwists with any shea butter, any waxes, any pomades, any jellies, no butters. Again, nothing that will remain stuck in your lock and take several washes before we can get rid of it. Water soluble products only. Now I'm on the shorter side and I could not use the comb on the very top of her head, so I'm going to be smoothing out with the comb but palm rolling to the ends. If you take a closer look at the very front of her hair, you can see where she has some thinning. And let me also state that thinning is sometimes expected, especially along the hairline, because that's where your hair is its thinnest. Okay, so now I am going to be switching tools. I'm going to pull out my interlocking tool. That's Sabria. She's going to take a couple of pictures of me whilst I do my work. So sweet. Okay, so it's not time to switch the tools yet. We have a couple more rows to do at the very top before we switch over to the next tool. I think I was here trying to decide on something. Yeah, that's probably what I was doing, trying to decide which way to continue, how best to continue, or something of the sort. See that frizz along the length of the lock? Once I retwist, see how that frizz just melts into the lock, wrapping and tight roots. The goal, fresh tight roots and complete frizz control. Watch that frizz melt away. And pin twice. Try not to rip. It's painful when you just, part the hairs at the roots by just breaking them apart. It's not fun. It hurts. So just always be careful when you're doing your parting. With us not doing a definite right or left or middle parts, we're gonna have to make sure that all of her twists are going in a backwards type motion. All her locks are going to be retwisted going backward, so that when it's time to style her, we do not have locks facing what I would consider a wrong direction. So for instance, if you retwisted and the lock was retwisted going downward on the left side, but your style is on the right, you would have to redo the retwist. But if you do the retwist with all of the locks going backward, if you have no definite part, then it's a lot easier to style once the hair is dry. Once the hair dries, it tends to stick in place, so you don't want it to dry in the wrong, facing the wrong direction. Tip: all locks along the hairline are usually flat twisted going backward. So we're gonna be interlocking in a similar fashion, making sure that every lock along the hairline is going towards the back, just like a flat twist would. Here I have my interlocking tool, and what I'm going to do first is twist at the roots to make sure all of those hairs at the base of her lock go into the lock first before I start interlocking. I am most likely going to do 2, maybe 3-point rotations. The last point is usually south to north, just to make sure that all of the locks are going backward, just like a flat twist would. Okay, final south to north. There we go. All that frizz gets wrapped around the lock, and then you pin. Apply your gel, pick a part, smooth out your parts, comb through the roots, then twist. And begin interlocking. You want to get in as many south to north points as you possibly can. That way, all of those little hairs along the hairline gets brushed into the lock. Since you're not flat twisting, you can't really grab all of those little hairs. So you want to make sure you do enough south to north rotations, south to north points, so that you get all of them into that lock. The hairs along the hairline tend to be shorter too. The reason why she opted to interlock the very front, the hairline, is because it's the first to come down. It takes a little bit longer to lock and to keep those little hairs in place. So with the interlocking, it's gonna stay in place a lot longer than it would if it were retwisted. So that's why we're only doing the hairline as opposed to her entire head. She is a retwist client, a palm roll client, not interlocking. And we do not recommend that you go in between methods unless if you're trying to solve a situation, which is what we're trying to do today. Going back and forth in between methods compromises the aesthetic of the lock. That smooth finish that you have along the lock, if it is retwisted, is lost once you start interlocking. Interlocking is a series of knots that are placed at the root of the lock, so they create bumps as opposed to being smooth and rounded. So you do not want to compromise the integrity and the overall look of your lock by going in between, retightening methods. You want to stick with one. Twist and then begin interlocking. And this is just for the hairline. You may have a different method that you use for the rest of the head, but once you're dealing with the hairline, this is the method that you should use. At this salon, we also sell a number of beauty supply items. So if you're a stylist in the Dallas area and you're looking for your tools for your salon suites, we've got you covered. We also have a wide assortment of at-home care products like your bonnets, headscarves. We also carry a few cultural items like incense and body oils and soaps, cultural soaps like Kush. Kush is a very cultural scent. Comes in the body oil form. We also have it in soaps. We also have plant-based soaps available at the salon. We also sell shea butter, black soap, really everything that you will need for your at-home self-care. By now, you would have realized that it's much easier to part straighter lines along the hairline because those hairs tend to be shorter. So it's so much easier to part straight lines. This is just a reminder to be gentle when you are working along the hairline of your client. Now we're gonna be doing her repairs. I'm gonna be using this 100% human kinky hair. It blends in so well and it is undetectable. I'm gonna be repairing those last 3 locks up front. So what I do first, I grab just a bit of it and I'm gonna begin by braiding from the roots and then wrapping. I braid first to secure the hair onto her lock. Here I am braiding. I will do a few rotations of braiding first and then wrap along the length of the lock where it is the thinnest. I'm gonna wrap going downward and then I will tighten by going up and down thereafter, up and down the lock thereafter until it is in place and secure and it is as thick at the roots, well, close enough to the thickness of the rest of the length of the lock. You want to increase its thickness using this kinky hair and get it to a thickness that is close enough to the end of the lock. So here I'm wrapping going down and then I will be wrapping upward and going up and down in this motion secures and fastens that human hair to her lock. Then you want to rub between the palms. See how undetectable that is? Rub between the palm to finish. I'm going to add just a little bit more. This time I'm just wrapping so that the root and the end of her lock are about an even size. Rub between the palms, undetectable. So now I'm gonna interlock the root. If there's any frizz, you want to wrap or palm roll to smooth it out. Make sure you wrap tightly, then smooth it out. This one, I'm gonna interlock the root. It's not as thin as the other two on the either side of it, so we're not gonna add any repair hair to this one. Home stretch, this is the final one, and we will be adding repair hair to this one. We're going to be doing the same thing that we did on the other repair. We're going to start off by using that kinky hair to braid the base at the roots to secure the hair, and then we're going to wrap around the lock, going up and down to tighten and secure in place. I'm gonna wrap going down first, and then you go up the lock, then down the lock. Rub between the palms, undetectable. There we go. Lastly, you want to interlock the roots, and then she's all done.